Alright, let's talk about The Adventures of Mowgli, or I think it's just Adventures of Mowgli. Um, this is another adaptation of the Jungle Book by Rudyard, or is it Rudyard Kipling? Um, this was made in Russia, and this actually started out as five shorts that they put together, and they started in 1967. So that was the same year that Disney released their adaptation. And yeah, they continued to release them until 1971, and then they put them together into one movie for 1973. So yeah. Um, so yeah, this is kind of a more faithful adaptation of the original Jungle Book. Um, you know, uh, I mean, it's kind of the same story. We have young Mowgli, or a young boy, because he's not named Mowgli yet, but, his, while he's a toddler, his family is mauled to death by Shere Khan, and, then he, like, runs away and enters this cave where these wolves adopt him, and then and then although unlike the Disney version, in this one he actually grows up. We see him like gradually getting older throughout the movie. I think basically for each I guess episode, like all the shorts were each like individual episodes. So yeah, basically for each episode he gets a little older. Like episode one he's like a toddler, and then the second one he's a young boy, then he's like a teenager, and then a grown man, and then a slightly older grown man. So yeah. Um, this is probably one of the very few adaptations of the story where Mowgli actually grows up. I mean, he didn't grow up in the Disney version or the live action Disney version or even that uh, supposed to be more faithful live action movie made right after the live action Disney remake made by what's his name? Gollum, Andy Serkis. Yeah. But this one follows the books a lot more closely. Um, let's see. I mean, there are some changes here and there. Like in this version, Bagheera is actually female, and um, she's got this very interesting animation style. She's kind of like, how to describe it? It's kind of shape shifty in a way. Like at one point, she like literally drops from a tree and like for a moment turns into goo, and then she like reforms herself. I mean, I guess it's just kind of a visual gag. Um, so, but yeah, I guess the idea is she's supposed to be like slinky and you know. Um, and then this is one of the very few adaptations where Ka is actually a good guy. Um, you know, uh, apparently he's a good guy in the original book, but in almost every adaptation, he's either a bad guy or you know, uh, kind of got his own agenda. He's kind of an anti, or I mean, he's a bad guy in both of the Disney versions, or actually, there's technically four Disney versions, but we don't talk about those other two live action ones from the 90s. Um, and then, in the Andy Serkis version, she is a kind of an anti-hero type character, voiced by Kate Blanchett, and yeah, Ka's also female in the live-action Disney remake, because I guess a lot of people decided later that he works well as a female, but yeah. Um, but yeah, he's a good guy in this version, and he's actually pretty cool. And quite a few of the characters are quite a bit cooler than they are in the Disney version, because yeah, Bagheera is definitely cooler. Yeah, female Bagheera is cooler than the one from the Disney one. Um, yeah, Baloo's cooler. They're all less goofy. Um, Probably the one character who is significantly less cool than the Disney version is Shere Khan. Here he's like kind of a spineless coward. Like he's still tough, but he's like, yeah, he's a coward. And the female wolf who adopts Mowgli, what's her name again? Yeah, even she manages to intimidate Shere Khan at the very beginning, and it's like, whoa. Like, yeah, in most versions, Shere Khan doesn't take that kind of crap. He's, So yeah, Shere Khan might be kind of a downgrade from the Disney version, because, yeah, that version was awesome. Um, yeah, I guess the Idris Elba and Benedict Cumberbatch versions were alright as well, but, yeah, I'm getting a little, yeah, I'm constantly going off on tangents talking about all the different adaptations that I've seen. Anyway, but yeah, is there much I need to say about the story? It's the story of Mowgli growing up in the jungle, and he has to defeat Shere Khan. At one point, he scares him away with fire. Blah blah blah. Um, so yeah. But overall, this was a pretty solid adaptation. I think, so not too long ago I talked about an adaptation of Pinocchio, which was kind of like a direct, faithful adaptation of the original book, and, it was good for what it was, but, I don't think it had, like, the charm of the Disney version. Like, the animation and voice acting and characters overall were kind of bland compared to the Disney version. Um, Here, I think they actually knew how to keep it interesting, and, I guess the characters aren't quite as memorable as they are in the Disney version, but, they're still, I think they still hold their own. They're still perfectly likable and everything. Um, and, the animation's nice. I mean, this is, yeah, I've been saying Russia for a while now, but that's mainly because I can't even pronounce the company's name. Was it Soyuz Film? I don't know. But yeah, they do some pretty nice animation, and well, I guess I'll go ahead and say this. I think I like this a little more than the Disney one. And I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people say that agree that this is better, and yeah, yeah, I think it's very solid. It's not like one of the greatest movies ever, but I think for a Jungle Book adaptation, honestly, it might be the best one I've seen so far. Um, and yeah, I do like the Disney one, or honestly, I like both of the Disney ones, both the animated one and the live action remake. Again, we don't talk about those 90s ones. Yeah, kind of confusing talking about all the different adaptations. Um, but yeah, the story flowed nicely, even though it was like 5 shorts put together into one film. I think they all flow together into a nice coherent story. It had a beginning, middle, and end. the story was well told. Um, Again, the characters are likable. Um, and so I kind of took a look at both the original Russian dub as well as this mid to late 90s American dub. And, you know, I will say the Russian version is probably the better one. I mean, it's got like much more ambient music and, you know, but still, there's a charm with the American dub as well. Like, there's a lot of cheesy but still pretty entertaining musical numbers throughout, and also it's got a lot of interesting voice actors. Um, I will say first of all, the voice acting's kind of awkward in the American dub because like like everyone's either adding dialogue where it wasn't in the original version, so you kind of got like some Popeye style dubbing, and and also sometimes they have to like talk really awkwardly slow in order to like keep up with the dialogue from, or just to flow well with the characters' lip movements and stuff. I mean, I guess they talk pretty slow in the original version as well, but yeah, I don't know. It just sounds more awkward in the American one. But at the very least, we got plenty of talented voice actors as it is. I mean, yeah, we seem to have a lot of notable Canadian voice actors. Like, for instance, young child Mowgli is voiced by Kathy Wesselook. She is, yeah, I mainly point her out because she's the voice of Spike from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and whenever young Mowgli talked, I just couldn't not hear Spike. And then his adult voice actor, Ian James Corlett, he does a good job, like, kind of transitioning the voice. Like, when he's a teenager, he does manage to sound like, that same kid, but as a teenager now. And then, he does a good job transitioning Mowgli's voice into adulthood as well. So yeah, I gotta give him props. And we have Scott McNeil as the voice of Shere Khan. Like, yeah, that guy's like one of the biggest voice actors over in Canada. Yeah. And you can tell he's a cool guy. I'm looking at his Wikipedia picture. He's got a cowboy hat, long hair, earrings, a goatee. He's cool. He's a rock star. Yeah, he's like rock star of Canadian voice acting. Like, yeah, that gruff voice you hear in a lot of cartoons. Mainly if like they use Canadian voice actors. Let me see. He voiced Piccolo in the early '90s dub of Dragon Ball Z. He was also. I mostly remember him as the voice of Wolverine in X-Men Evolution. That was like early 2000s X-Men adaptation that aired on Kids WB. I still remember that show. But yeah, really cool voice. And there's two other voice actors two other voices that compete with him in coolness. And both of them are these huge actors. We have Sam Elliott voicing Kaa. Don't get much cooler than Sam Elliott. So yeah, that's a Hollywood celebrity to throw in with all these Canadian voice actors, and the movie is narrated by Charlton Heston. So yeah, that's like yeah, those are like two of the coolest actor voices ever, and I think Scott McNeil is up there with them in coolness. Also, Bagheera was voiced by Dana Delaney. I don't know much about her, but she's clearly a big star as well, because the credits bill her right under Elliot and Heston. So yeah, obviously I had to look at the Russian dub because it's everyone generally agrees that it's the better version, but at the same time, I couldn't say no to at least looking at the version that had Charlton Heston and Sam Elliott. But yeah, I think the voice actors did good with what they were given, even though like the way they had to do the voice acting was kind of awkward. But yeah, overall, whichever version you watch, it's a very enjoyable adaptation, and yeah, I would actually say that it's even better than the Disney version, any of the Disney versions, but specifically the animated one, which is still the best of the bunch. Or best of the Disney ones. I'm sorry, still confusing talking about all the adaptations. And that's not even going into like, I know there's like a silent movie and all these other Jungle Book adaptations, yeah. Either way, this is the best version I have seen in my opinion, and I give it an 8 out of 10. This is probably the second best Russian animated movie I've seen next to Snow Queen. And if you're interested, if you're a fan of the Jungle Book, or you want to see something, a faithful adaptation, definitely give this movie a watch. And if there's anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments as usual. So yeah, I guess that will be all for now. Mash it and smash it, signing off.